as sports journalists, we start out as fans and we come in with this starry-eyed sort of this thing of these great stars, and in about 3 seconds we discover that they can be real jerks and really horrible people.
They took the trouble to learn the sport they were writing about. Just knee-jerk, oh, I'm a fan and therefore I can write about. Some fans actually come up with good points, but there is more to writing a cohesive story than just being able to make an odd point or two.
I think there's a lot of responsibility that has to be placed on sports editors, because we meet young sports journalists who want to be journalists. They want to do stories and say, no, my editor wants me to write this.
Has this just been reduced to scorecards? Has it been reduced to scorecards? And if so, was this an inevitability that we've got to hear, or have we made some missteps along the way?
When we say, has it been reduced, we remove agency. I think it's more accurate to say we have reduced it too.
Because there is social media and there is you talking to your fans, you don't need journalists anymore. Never mind a magazine writer, you don't even need a television journalist, to be very honest.
The supplier of the information, it could be a PR agency, it could be an IPL team, someone else telling you what to write. So what does that change in position do for the person who is writing?
If you're a halfway decent reporter, you do not take dictation. You're not going to write what somebody wants you to write and put your name to it. There's a Women's World Cup happening. It's a World Cup. I went to the 2 major cricket sites this morning. The first 2 scrolls are all about India and Shubman Gill's.
Which sites do say?
I think there is a job of informing, and even that job of informing perhaps has not been done that well. How many people knew that there was a Women's Cricket World Cup being hosted in India?
Good.
How many of you know that there's the World Para Athletics Championship being hosted in India?
To become distinctive, you have to start from the bottom and learn about whatever sport that you're interested in from the bottom up.
It's not about the personalities. If a personality screws up, the personality is screwed up. There's nothing wrong with saying it. What you lose maybe is access to the people. But that access is overrated. Why? Because
hello everyone. I'm Nandini Chandrasekhar from the News Minute. Welcome everyone to the second day of Media Rumble. Before we start today's session, I'd like to ask all of you to observe a minute of silence for veteran journalist T.J.S. George. He passed away in Bangalore yesterday. The 97-year-old was a Padma Bhushan awardee, was known for his incisive writings. He was the editorial advisor of the New Indian Express and earned fame for his widely read weekly column, Point of View. The first editor in India to be charged for sedition, T.J.S. George was also a mentor to many. A Bangalorean who was the city's conscience keeper, the city, state, and India will remember him for being one of our most illustrious journalists. I was also working with him at some point in time, and we would all wait with bated breath for his weekly columns. Great man. So, yeah. Yeah, thank you. I'd like to call Anjana Meenakshi to introduce the panel.
Hello, everybody. I'm Anjana Meenakshi. I'm a reporter with the News Minute. I capped off a lovely session yesterday on the new news ecosystem, and I'm starting today's session, which is titled, Has Sports Reporting Been Reduced to Scorecards? So I can only assume my bosses like the idea of symmetry, and that's why I ended it yesterday and I'm here today. But welcome back, and thank you so much in joining us to support independent media and everything we hope we are able to offer and we continue to strive to offer. Now, before I start, how many of you don't watch sports here? This is a panel on sports reporting. How many of you have zero interest in sports? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, a few hands there. Okay, I never thought sports was interesting. I didn't get it, right? So the first time I watched F1, which was very recently, I was like, great, cars going around in circles. I don't get the big deal. When I was younger, I would see my father and my brother watch Test cricket, and I was like, okay, they played for 5 days and called it a draw. This is another excuse for men to waste time. And the one time I diligently tried to watch football, I saw one guy bite another guy's ear. So I said, okay, this is not good. I don't understand the appeal whatsoever. That changed 2 years ago when female wrestlers sat on a protest in Delhi, alleging sexual harassment against the Wrestling Federation's president, Brij Bhushan. that changed for the second time when I watched an interview of Sharda Ugra, who's one of our panelists today, speak to News Minute's executive editor Sudipto Mandal. And for the third time, it changed today morning, less than an hour ago, when I was speaking to Mr. Prem Panicker, and he told me that, listen, this is not just a wrestling problem. This is a pan-India problem, and this is a every sport problem. So this is why sports reporting matters. But how much of sports reporting is about the technicality of sport? How much of it is about the fanfare, the obscene amount of money that goes into it? And how much of the reporting media persons do is about the athletes themselves? This panel will debate all of those questions and then more. And I hope all of us can learn from it more selfishly myself. So without further ado, we have with us Mr. Prem Panicker, a journalist based in Bangalore. He helped co-found Rediff and was previously editor of India Abroad and managing editor of Yahoo India. We also have Sharda Ugra, an independent sports journalist based in Bengaluru. This session will be moderated by Nandan Kamath. Mr. Kamath is a lawyer who specializes in sports law, technology law, governance and regulation. He's a founder and principal lawyer at LawNK, co-founder and managing trustee of GoSports Foundation, a national award-winning organization for elite athletes, and a co-founder of the Sports and Society Accelerator. Thank you and welcome again to the Media Rumble. Let's start the match. Let's start the panel. Here we go.
Sharda, Prem, can we shake hands first?
Yes.
Not sure we'll be allowed to do it after. Can you pre-match shake hands first? So the topic today is really, are sports journalists redundant? And one thing that is very clear is I'm redundant in this panel. You don't need a moderator when you have Sharda and Prem, but I'm going to try and build some relevance over time. If I can start with you, Prem, this is a provocative topic, talking about, has this just been reduced to scorecards? Has it been reduced to scorecards? And if so, was this an inevitability that we've got to hear, or have you made some missteps along the way?
So language matters, right? When we say, has it been reduced, we remove agency. I think it's more accurate to say we have reduced it too. And you talked about redundancy. There's a bit of backstory to it. I was growing up, my sources of information were the morning papers, which gave you detailed information about the match, and radio, right? Those old world radios that you had. Besides the fact that those radios were more static than commentary, you also had the issue that you had to have the radio set, right? So if you were in school, for instance, you had no means of following the match. Match reports mattered. You had the Rajan Balas and the R. Mohans and all of those people, that the old toyins of thing doing it. Then came television. I remember sitting in Chipok watching a match, and in those days people carried radio to the stadiums. So I was also listening to the commentary. A guy plays a shot, he went for a drive, it took the edge, it went gap between slip and gully. And I remember this so clearly. The commentator said he's played a beautiful late cut to the boundary for 4. Which was not what happened. I knew that only because I was there. Once TV came, the advantage was you could ignore all the tracer bullets that went around in the commentary box, and you could actually see what was happening, right? So the interpretation was yours. Again, the problem is you were captive to that set. So if you had to go to work, for instance, no chance, right? Then came digital. And what digital did for us is live scores, easily accessible ball-by-ball commentary came along. So even if you didn't have access to TV, you could follow the match. And then you watch TV for the highlights or whatever. The real disruptor is OTT. Because what has happened with OTT is now the match is in my pocket. Live, anytime I want. I mean, I'm at work, I keep making excuses to go to the washroom, and if I can't do all of that, I can actually replay the entire match later. I can, through a combination of the scorecard, the ball-by-ball commentary, the highlights, etc., I have a very good idea of what is happening. Why are you then writing a match report? What is that match report? I'm not saying that the match report is redundant. I'm saying the match report in its current form is redundant. And I don't know how you will argue a case against that. I'll give you an example. Shall I do that? Okay, I'll give you an example then. Here's a match report, and I'd like the audience to tell me if it works for them, yeah? Let's see. So this is England played South Africa yesterday. England played South Africa yesterday in the Women's World Cup, and there's a report. The message was loud and clear on England's day one of the 2025 Women's World Cup. England aren't here to warm up, they're here to dominate. In just 20.4 overs, South Africa's innings collapsed to 69 before England's openers strolled to 73 without loss in 14.1 overs. A 10-wicket win, but more than that, a statement of intent. Act 1, the collapse. England's captain Natseva Brunt won the toss and invited South Africa to bat, and the gamble paid off almost immediately. Left-arm spinner Lindsay Smith in her first World Cup 50-over match tore through the top order, claiming 3 for 7 in just 4 overs. She dismissed both Laura Woolward and Tasman Brits early, sending South Africa into disarray. And it goes on and on. I'd like to read the whole thing. Do you think it makes sense? Show of hands. Does it seem like a match report? Does it work? Pardon me? Uh-huh.
Who's the author?
So what I did was, I didn't see the match. I haven't seen the highlights. I took the scoreboard, I plugged it into ChatGPT and said, please write a match report for me with some color and some context. By the way, ChatGPT, after giving me an entire match report, then tells me this. If you're talking of reinvented coverage, this report should come with a graphic showing how run rate decayed over the innings, overs versus cumulative runs, an audio bit where Smith reflects on her first ball strikes and Jafta on being the lone resistance, a sidebar connecting this collapse to past South African batting woes under pressure, a forward look at how England's confidence today might shape their clash with India and how South Africa might need to reset before their next match. These are suggestions from ChatGPT, which are the kind of suggestions I would expect my editor to give me, except that editors these days don't have the time for all this. My point is, the match report is becoming redundant in multiple ways. One, you don't need one because you have access to the entire match on your smart device. Two, here you go. AI is at some point going to eat this particular lunch. And it'll be sooner, not later.
Thank you for that, Prem. We were talking outside and Prem said a little bit intimidated. It's like batting with Tendulkar. You just have to toss the ball and he's going to entertain the audience. And here we have Sharda. Sharda, you've promised many juicy tidbits and some memorable quotes. You want to start with any of them?
Okay. No, I won't start with the memorable quote. It'll be right at the end so that nobody leaves. Hello, thank you for being here. Now, what Prem is talking about is sort of the change that sports journalism and sports journalists and reporters are feeling now today. This book that I'm reading from is called An Accidental Sports Writer by a US sports writer, Robert Lipsyte. Legendary guy, hung out with Muhammad Ali, and great stories he has to tell. He's talking about the time that television and the internet has come into the United States and what it is doing to sports journalism. And he's got he told a story about what happened when the Tiger Woods scandal broke, and he called the sports journalists. This chapter is entitled The Lodge Brothers. So he calls them like the Freemasonry. Lodge Brothers is all these male sports reporters that were there. And then he's describing what he sees as a situation that he's witnessed through his career. As the economic and social gap between the hack and the jock widened, as the financial value of sports grew, as newspaper writers became obsolete, as the brokers between the fans and the athletes, TV freed fans from needing print journalists to present them to the public, and most sports journalists, my so-and-so partner, Brian Curtis, has called sports casting a halfway house for half-wits. He said most sports journalists were thrilled to be part of the show on the industry's terms. And he refers to them as this Tiger Woods guys. All the golf writers are very quiet. They didn't know what to do when this whole scandal broke. And he calls them a crew of house pets. He said, what a crew of house pets. So I think every sports journalist who is doing the job that they're doing, every sports editor, I think there's a lot of responsibility that has to be placed on sports editors, because we meet young sports journalists who want to be journalists. They want to do stories and say, no, my editor wants me to write this. I read a story written a couple of days ago, which was a tweet it's become a story about a tweet and the responses to that tweet from other people tweeting. So that's what editors are doing. That's what sports editors are telling them, please do this. These are these great news agencies that there are. So this is the trap that we find ourselves in at this moment, and sports journalism find itself in. There's not going to be truth coming from the halfway house of half-wits. Which is, I'm never going to forget that ever, that expression now. But you are in this, you have become part, as he says in his book, part of the celebrity and the entertainment industry. So you're not the sports industry anymore, and what sports used to stand for. That hasn't changed, but you have changed, everyone else has changed around it.
And that brings me to the question of your career. Early in your career, you're working with young athletes who are craving for your attention and craving for you to write about them. And then as they grow, they're asking for privacy, leave me alone, don't write about me.
Yeah.
Can you take us through that journey through your lens of having written on young athletes, senior athletes? You've done some incredible stories, even when you were very young, with very senior people like Imran Khan and others.
Yeah. So that was technology has changed so much. And technology, the internet, social media has completely rewritten sort of the rules of the game. And to me, it's this whole thing of the gap between the gap in social status and financial wealth between the journalist and the athlete. That has also begun to be seen as something. You see it now when you're looking at this. There's stories that are told about the Indian women's cricket team when after 2017 they became hugely successful because they had this great breakout tournament at the World Cup, and then all these reporters are saying, these girls, these women, they used to talk to us. Now they want money for appearance. They will not give us. They were just following the pattern of what the men had done. So it's their fame, their popularity. They saying, listen. And we must also remember, or in the past, that the athlete's career is a very short lifespan. So he's got to be doing as much ROI as he can possibly, which is where this whole thing of your manager, your social media account. And now, because there is social media and there is you talking to your fans, you don't need journalists anymore. Never mind a magazine writer. You don't even need a television journalist, to be very honest. So you're seeing all the interviews that are conducted by, say, the big stars, wherever they are. It'll be done through a PR guy or the product of that the athlete is sponsoring. They'll have an event, or the official host broadcaster. And there's no one else that is able to get that interview. And even if you get an interview, then you end up realizing how mundane and anodyne a lot of them sound, because that's what they're being told. So in my case, the best sort of equation that I had with people was from an earlier era, sort of pre-social media in that sense, pre-social media, pre-IPL. They were in the IPL, they didn't find their way through it very convincingly. A lot of our younger athletes outside of cricket now are also in that entire sort of ecosystem of earning and celebrity status and social media, but they're much simpler to handle, much easier to handle as journalists, because they are not the cricketers. And every country has a sport or two sports, which is this big behemoth, and that takes everyone's attention and everyone wants to know about them. And the ones from the smaller sports are much better. You can engage them in a much more meaningful and an authentic manner.
Wonderful. And Prem, coming back to you, what you talk of is a disintermediation. You've essentially removed the sports journalist from the relationship between athlete and fan. But Sharda also talks about a re-intermediation, which is the supplier of the information. It could be a PR agency, it could be an IPL team, someone else telling you what to write. So what does that change in position do for the person who is writing, originally writing perhaps as a representative of the fan, possibly being a fan to start with, but now being almost filtered information and a limited universe which they are being asked to write about?
I think the first thing it's done is it's moved a lot of people who used to set the standards out of the field. So if you think of a particular period, for instance, in Cricinfo, and people who followed Cricinfo for some years will remember the time I'm talking about. Look at the roster of writers they had: Rahul Bhattacharya, Rahul Bhatia, Siddharth Vaidyanathan, Amit Verma, Sharda Ugra, and several others. Excellent writers. Sambit Bal, who was writing a lot more at that time. Excellent writers. And the nice thing was everybody had disparate voices. So there were multiple lenses that were being used to look into the sport. It was worth going there. It was worth reading all of this stuff. All of them have moved out. And so have others, for instance, right? The point is that if you're a halfway decent reporter, you do not take dictation. You're not going to write what somebody wants you to write and put your name to it. And it's transparent. When you get PR puff pieces, the people reading it also know. A classic example is my wife. We go somewhere together and somebody says, "Oh, I'm a big fan," and she looks up and down very curiously, like, what is this guy a fan of this guy for? Because she's never read a single line that I've written on sport. But even she sometimes points to some stuff that she sees in the papers and says, "This sounds like a press release." It is a press release, except it's disguised as a story. Some people do it because you need a job. And that's what Sharda made the point earlier. You're doing what the editor wants you to do. The editor wants you to have Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma or somebody in your headline, in the headline, because they believe that is what attracts traffic. Here's the irony though. The websites won't admit it, but today websites are actually finding diminishing marginal returns for this. The traffic is coming down. The traffic is desperately down on match reports. The traffic is also down on a lot of this junk. But we do it anyway because, one, there is a certain comfort in being in that rut. You don't have to think. Two, again, it's a point that Sharda has made just now and also multiple times to me offline. The problem is of leadership. Leaders tend to be risk averse. They're saying, okay, this is working, maybe not working as well as it was, and it's easy to blame the reader, right? Readers don't read anymore. When did they stop? Your site was working brilliantly before. Why? What changed? That you won't answer, but they'll say, nobody reads anymore. So there is some declining traffic, blah, blah. They will not look at the fact that you are losing relevance. We'll probably come in greater detail later on this thing, but a slight tangential aside, remember the time when digital technology came into the world of photography? So some companies that were never involved in photography saw the opportunity there and they got into manufacturing photographic equipment. Some companies that were already there quickly pivoted. They saw where the future was and they went. There was one company though which said, look, this is a newfangled, some kind of fad. We don't want to be part of it. We are the gold standard where classic photography is, and there's nothing to equal film photography. Where is Kodak today? It's a footnote in history. It's a forgotten footnote in history. And it's happened within 10 years. Media is an industry like every other industry, and the thing about an industry is you either stay relevant to your consumer or you die. Sometimes you don't even know you're dead, which is, I think, where we are. But yeah.
The quality of the writing never changes. It's what you're writing on and how you're writing and what you're saying that you have to focus on much more. So I'll read one more thing from this book. I've underlined it. It's there are all kinds of, because I'm to try and explain our angst as sports journalists. There are all kinds of sports writers simply because we are not sure if we are supposed to be reporters, critics, analysts, investigators, fabulists, moralists, comics, or shills for the games that make us possible.
Prem, who is a sports journalist today?
Who
Of
is
that
the,
list, any of them, all of them?
the fabulous? Yeah. I mean, there's a women's World Cup happening. It's a World Cup. See, I went to the two major cricket sites this morning. The first two scrolls are all about India and Shubman Gill's.
Which sites do say? Why I am only taking names here?
Yeah. Having not worked for one of the sites, I think it would be a bit unfair. But look, I mean, you can look it up for yourself. The Women's World Cup is an afterthought somewhere down at the bottom. Where is your relevance? Are you suggesting that cricket lovers would rather read about the backstory of India's game sometime back and the fallout of, oh yeah, the Operation Sindoor on the cricket field than actually read about, this match where England just decimated South Africa? What? I don't get the logic. So it then goes to the question of who's a sports journalist today. A sports journalist today is somebody who manufactures clickbait. There are exceptions. There's one sitting to my left. I want to try a thought experiment while we are at it. Let's say that Sharda starts a Substack or a YouTube channel, she'll start laughing now because she knows where I'm coming from. Say a YouTube channel or on Medium or any one of those platforms. But the thing is, she doesn't have any editorial overseer sitting on top of her and saying, oh, we can't publish this or we can't write that. She doesn't have a space constraint. She doesn't have a theme constraint. She doesn't have to write about yesterday's match. She can if she wants to, or she can, her intimate immersion in the world of sport for over 3 decades is given her a knowledge base that is almost unequaled, right? She can mine that. She can connect dots from the past to dots from the present and then postulate the future. She can do all of that. Now, if she started that and if she charged a subscription of, let's say, $100 per month, hand on heart, how many of you would pay for it? Sharda, I just make a business case for you. You bloody well start.
But we were talking about PR agency.
500. He said it was 500 years you've been saying this. Yeah.
But see, now ask yourself the question, why were you so quick to raise your hands? Because relevance. You know that what you're getting, you don't know what you're going to get, but you know that what you get will be quality. It will be something that you want. It will not be anodyne rubbish about, oh, this batsman came and played this brilliant innings with a lot of cover drives and then this bowler came and took 3 wickets and then, the match ended and somebody won, somebody lost. Which you already saw. So that is the problem today. It's not the decline of sports journalism. It is our reluctance to let go of what we have done historically for decades, because this uncertain future, which has been triggered partly by OTT, partly and now increasingly by AI. And by the way, ChatGPT did not invent AI. Sports Illustrated was doing stories which were published on the website using an AI bot. The Washington Post 14 years ago has used AI to write stories. The Financial Times, Bloomberg, all of them use AI, and they not ChatGPT and Claude and all of that. They build their own bots. There are a couple of Indian media houses that have tried and didn't work. But it'll happen. So if you want to be a sports journalist, you've got to be, the choice is, would you rather be the guy who wrote that Twitter piece, or would you rather be Sharda Ugra? Or would you rather read that person, or would you read Sharda? I think the answer is fairly clear from your response, right? So, yeah.
I think there is a job of informing, and even that job of informing perhaps has not been done that well. How many people knew that there was a Women's Cricket World Cup being hosted in India? Good. How many of you know that there's the World Para-Athletics Championship being hosted in India?
Yes.
How many of you know that yesterday a stray dog came and bit a Kenyan athlete as he's on the starting block in the World Athletics Championships. Isn't that a front
That's
page?
the biggest story.
I mean, there's pace setting, but not by dogs, and that's competitive.
to add,
You don't go after the Kenyan athlete. I mean,
Yeah.
you should do it a little bit more sophisticated. But,
also to the point of the para athletes, yesterday, I mean, Sheetal Devi goes and wins. It's almost become inevitable now. But yesterday we won the 100 meters. I mean,
Sharda, along those lines, a young person comes to you and says, I want to sort of emulate you. One day someone like Prem will talk about me like he does about
Thank you, Prem.
What advice would you have for this young woman?
Basically, don't like to be like anybody, be yourself. The only thing you can do is to try and know the sport that you are going to follow, and to start with the very basic stuff, like maybe look for where the gap is, where there's no, where everyone wants to do cricket. Everyone wants to do cricket because everyone may want to be on television, because that's what gives you numbers, popularity. You have a lot of people have YouTube shows that are running, saying various things. It could be that. But to become distinctive, you have to start from the bottom and learn about whatever sport that you're interested in from the bottom up. Even if you're doing cricket, I was talking to someone yesterday about this, and he said that you should actually go out and meet every single sports academy or whatever in your ilaka, in your neighborhood, and find out what they're charging for people to come, cricket academy rather. Find out, because of the fact that that is big money business. Find out what they're charging, find out what people say, find out what they're learning, find out what they're learning in terms of how modern is it. So it's like you're looking at something that's going on. You're looking at an environment. It's not just the media that has changed, it's the environment of sport around India that's also changed. It's huge. So look at that. That'll give you a new eye into seeing. But then you tell them, okay, you go to an organization where they tell you make a article from a Twitter feed and get responses for that. I mean, there is the IT cell head of a particular organization also is posting on cricket or whatever. So the problem there, I think there's a big bottleneck or like a logjam of the people at the top who are running this. They have just got into this whole clickbait. You're saying, supplier, content creator for clickbait. And that's where the problem is. It's not that there's no talent in the country when it comes to writing, watching sports, following sports. That's where the problem is with the leaders that there are. It's like the IPL slogan is where talent meets opportunity. So in Indian sport, the example is that there's a lot of talent in a lot of Olympic sports, which GoSports has tried to counter and respond to. So there is a lot of talent, but there is no opportunity. It's similar in journalism, that we won't give opportunities to young journalists, even if they want to follow sports journalism in the best way, because like he's saying, a lot of the people have left the mainstream. So in 2011, this is a sort of story. I won't take names because I mean that is a famous person who's a nice guy, so never mind. So he said, we are having a conversation around the table in a Cricket Info office, and he said, I don't belong to the mainstream media. Like it was some ganda, some dirty thing. And I was saying, I was quite proud to belong to that mainstream media at the time because of whatever. It was doing things, it was saying, this is cricket media, how serious can it be? So, and now you look at it and you're saying that guy and everybody else is now part of the mainstream and we are not. We have been sort of edged out or whatever. So, for whatever reasons, not any evil willfulness or whatever, it's just a fact. And a lot of people lost their jobs with full evil willfulness, not me. Yeah, sure.
So there, your journey, Sharda, if I followed your stories, you wrote a lot of cricket, but while you were writing cricket, you were also writing about swimmers, gymnasts and others. But over recent years, you found a new freedom to move from what you term mainstream to margins. You're writing about football in the Northeast, Kashmir, you've gone to Andaman and Nicobar. So in some sense, what is the learnings from that for the next generation of journalists, the arc that you have traveled? And is it easy to start on the margins, or is it a place of maturity that gets you to those margins? Because those are difficult places to write about, to see the sophistication of the challenge. It's just easier in the mainstream, right?
Yeah, that's true. So when we all start out as sports journalists, we all start out as fans. We're all fans. There's no denying it. No one who starts out in politics or economics will be a fan of political parties or SEBI. But as sports journalists, we start out as fans and we come in with this starry-eyed sort of this thing of these great stars, and in about 3 seconds, we discover that they can be real jerks and really horrible people. And then you discover whether you love the sport or you love the sports star, the athlete, whoever, male. And it takes time. You would hope that the difficulty now for younger people coming into sports journalism is that all they're seeing of the athlete is this social media mask that is there, their Instagram mask, that they're doing all these things. And how do you respond to that? As a young person, I think it takes time. You do need to have that time, but you do need to have leadership and mentorship. My advantage was that I started out in midday in Mumbai, where you could not write match reports because as the editors and the subs and all that would say, please, they've already seen it. It's already come in the morning papers. You have to write something else. Show me something else. Tell me a hatke story. It became like a joke with all of us. So we started out by writing in sports journalism differently. We started off from what else can I write about this? And I'm reading in the papers, they're only writing these things. Who do I go and talk to? And now when that changed, when that whole environment changed, there's a bunch of us at midday who are just so used to doing this, it was no big deal. You just switched. I mean, I worked at the Hindu for sometimes I had to do match reports, and that's a great doesn't exist anymore. That's a great discipline and a great learning that you're there at the first. My biggest shock horror was once when I went to cover a match to do reports, and I found that the Hindu reporter was not there. I said, is this even possible that the Hindu reporter is not there for the first ball of the match? Because that was our law that you have to be there when the first ball is bowled. So, but now that whole industry itself has changed. You can start out from you don't have to do that painstaking route. The machine is going to do it for you. You go to a match and see and look at it differently. So that's an advantage of sorts. About the margins, you would hope that young people that are there, they can see sport for more than this big industry, money-making enterprise that it's become in so many ways. And 10 minutes remaining. So, but I will tell my quote. You hope that they can see the industry for beyond that big industry that we've become, which is seen as a sign of success and achievement and so on, and see the other things, because eventually why are fans are angry that the Indian team did not shake hands, because they are, and an editor asked one of my friends in the business that why is it that only you sports journalists are upset that they didn't shake hands? And, we were like literally abusing on the phone when he said, because you don't understand what sport is. So when you come in as a fan, I just hope that younger people will come in with a wider view of the world than I did when I had when I first started working.
Thanks, Sharda. Before we open it up to the audience, one question for you, and then you have your Moneyball quote, I think. Prem, they talk about this notion of you need 1,000 true fans. How does a young person go about attracting those 1,000 true fans in today's world and the future of, I don't know, is it sports writing or sports journalism, but essentially communicating sport to other people?
I think most of it Sharda said. If you want people to read you, you need to develop your voice. That voice comes from understanding. Spend the time. I mean, guys like Sharda, some of the people I worked with, because she brought up midday, Hemal Asher, for instance, Prajwal Hegde, they took the trouble to learn the sport they were writing about. Just knee-jerk, I'm a fan and therefore I can write about. Some fans actually come up with good points, but there is more to writing a cohesive story than just being able to make an odd point or two. Learn the mechanics of the sport that you're playing. Forget about the personalities. Learn how to, for instance, one of the big issues is in sport journalism and in journalism per se, this false notion of patriotism, jingoism, etc. You hear it in the commentary box, for instance. If India is playing, everything is wonderful. I mean,
halfway house of half-wits.
Halfway house of half-wits, yes. I don't think Sharda is ever going to let anyone forget that quote. But that said, you need basically to start developing your voice. Don't worry about the numbers. If you're true to what you're doing, if you go the clickbait route, you just become one of the thousands of people who are going down that route. You either do that or you chart a course for yourself. Why Sharda still followed? Why do so many hands go up when I ask whether people will pay to read her? Because she does not follow the trend. She writes about what she wants to write about. She is true to her thoughts. Sharda's, some of her, I mean, when there are pieces that she sends me the links and I read it and I'm like, how does she get away with saying the thing she does? Because, it's no holds barred. You have to be true to the profession. And in this profession, it's sports journalism. It's not about the personalities. If a personality screws up, the personality is screwed up. There's nothing wrong with saying it. What you lose maybe is access to the people. But that access is overrated. Why? Because today's sports stars are basically hedged around by media managers, brand managers. If you ask a top cricketer for an interview, the first question, which comes not from the cricketer but from his management team, is which media house is this for? What will the placement be? How many images?
Is it going to be a cover story?
Is it going to be a cover story if it is a print or a newspaper thing or whatever? After all this, after you jump through all these hoops, send me your questions. Then you get something back saying, okay, you can't ask this question, but you can ask this, and they tell you the questions to ask. I might as well send a monkey with a freaking tape recorder. Don't do that. And build your fan base slowly. I mean, don't, the minute you write something, the next thing you do, how many people have clicked on it? Forget it. It'll happen in time.
And one more thing I think important in this is that we are talking a lot about writing. There is sports journalism that can be done through video, through social media content in a meaningful and a good way. And there are some young people that are doing it. And I think it's this understanding of technology that you can put to use, which is a big help. I mean, I'm not good at technology in that sense. And I think since we have reached all the way here without talking about Asia Cup, I will talk about Asia Cup now. That it was a classic example of sports journalism in India gone bad. You did not see enough voices out there, not on Twitter or whatever, but just saying that what has happened was wrong. I listened to a podcast called the Bits and Pieces podcast, and I'm pitching it and plugging it. It's my friends that come up with it. It's completely irreverent. There's a lot of bad language in it. They have the craziest of bad jokes and everything. But they came up with the most accurate description of the Asia Cup that's just gone by. Said at the Asia Cup, India, which is / Indian cricket, which is / BCCI, had its cake, ate it too, and farted in everybody's face. So, I mean, please do read that. Please do listen to that. At the same time, in the middle of all this, they explained to you exactly how this whole thing panned out as fans, sitting outside, away from all this access and all the rest of it. And so how did you play today kind of interviews that you get. So, so that's what I'm saying, that journalism failed in that sense. It didn't say what it had. There's an article that came in the Indian Express, which is very strong, by Sandeep Dwivedi. And I know Suresh Menon wrote something as well in the Hindu, but the big voices that needed to be out there, front page, anchor, I'm talking print and newspapers, an anchor opinion piece, something like that. It was not there. Peter Roebuck's pack of dogs kind of thing was not.
So you have a last quote before you wanted to...
Yeah, we've been talking of sports journalism, and some of the questions you asked me were basically, about how do you do this and how do you reinvent this. One of my favorite sports journalists is a guy called Gary Smith, who used to work for the Sports Illustrated. He retired a couple of years ago. Some of his best stories, and he wrote off the sport, but he wrote off the sport as well. And some of his best works are collected in a book called Beyond the Game. In the preface to that, where Gary speaks about why he does the kind of stories he does, this is what he said. He said, sport comes to us in boxes, the perimeters of our TV screens or the boundary lines of fields and courts. as much as I enjoy what goes on inside those boxes, I've always had the urge to bust out of them. I've always had the feeling that the most compelling and significant story was the one occurring beyond the game, before it, after it, above it, or under it, deep in the furnace of the sporting psyche. I think if you're starting out as a journalist and you need some kind of, daily reminder of what it is you're trying to do, print this out, stick it where you can see it first thing as you sit at the desk. It's the Bible for sports writing.
Thank you, Prem. A couple of questions from the audience. Anyone have the hand up? One there. 2 questions, yeah.
Sorry. I second your opinion on the Bits and Pieces podcast. The recent episode was fantastic. A quick question about data analysis. At your stage in your career, do you feel compelled to really analyze data like the way Jared Kibber or Karthikeya did?
No, not at all. I mean, when I need data, I'll ask somebody who knows data and I'll say, explain this to me, and they'll tell me. I don't feel the need to go down data, but I understand its value and I understand how important it is in the sport. And I have full props to data guys.
I think, Prem, you have a perspective on the future of data and journalism, right?
Yeah, I think that, we did talk about how the standard maths report has become irrelevant. So what do you replace it with? It would be, you start asking yourself, what is it that the reader does not have access to? For example, there is this outfit in Chennai called Kadamba. For every match, they send you 130 pages of data. I'm not kidding. I once printed the damn thing out and the printer caught fire. And this is comprehensive. It starts with team data, it starts ground data, every single player, every match he's played, everything is there, right? Imagine using that data to inform readers about things that the readers, viewers, whoever, about the sort of stuff that they otherwise don't have access to. Imagine putting all of that raw data up, putting an AI-powered query engine on top of it and letting readers viewers, actually play around with it, come up with their own insights, challenge them to do it. These are ways that you can actually make up for the fact that one particular type of writing has become redundant.
One more question.
Sorry, how do we retire to what intent from?
If you don't mind, someone else, somewhere. Sorry, I don't know. There?
I have a question. Yeah. So my name's Vishnu. I'm a sports journalist myself. Yeah. So this question for anybody. Anyone can answer. So do you think that sports journalism has been limited to the major superstars like Virat Kohli or Rohit Sharma? Because you can see a lot of several stories from multiple angles on Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma or MS Dhoni. Whereas on the other hand, you don't see that many stories on up and coming players like Vaibhav Suryavanshi or anyone like Priyansh Arya.
Yeah, got the question.
Yeah. So when you say sports journalism has been limited by who? You said you are a sports journalist. How many stories did you write? We are all complicit. Let's not use language to sort of distance ourselves from our agency. All of us are complicit in this. If you say that stars are the ones who are getting the maximum attention, we are the ones who are giving them the maximum attention. So the fault, dear Brutus.
But you don't think it's relevant that Virat Kohli has not dyed his beard recently? It's important.
It's very important, and I take lessons from it.
On that note, thank you everyone, and over. Thank you, Sharda. Thank you, Prem.